everybody, this is Joanna with Health Empowerment Center. I wanted to come today and speak to you a bit about a principle in naturopathic medicine that really is how I approach holistic healthcare. This is what I feel would be magnificent if we could get it across the board in our healthcare system, because it incorporates every modality of medicine available to us and puts it in its place where it has the greatest strengths. It helps us to understand where we need to go based upon what's going on with our health, and it helps to put prevention first, right? Prevention is key. As Benjamin Franklin said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So this is what we really need to reduce a lot of chronic illness in the United States and really around the world, is really focusing in on prevention. Prevention is key. So we're not really given, as we grow older or through life as we grow up, how do we take care of our body? Right? We just get told eat healthy and we kind of get our my plate or, the food pyramid, but that really doesn't tell us how does that really help us? What is really going on? How do we really make it fit us? So in natural medicine, it's really about the individual and their needs, and it's about what you need at certain times, right? And so being able to know and how to support your body is really important, and really knowing how to utilize the different modalities of medicine, the different healthcare practitioners, and this is not even necessarily to doctor levels, but even how to use a health coach, which is what I currently is my scope, is as a health coach, even though I'm in school currently, to become a doctor in natural and Chinese medicine. So, my scope will expand from there. But right now I'm a health coach. I'm a nutritionist. I have a bachelor's degree in nutrition and food science, and I've gotten certifications in health coaching and some other training over the years. So, this is knowledge that I have to share and impart to you as a health coach. And that really, in what we're going to be talking about, which is the therapeutic order, I would be working in the bottom tier, which is known as establishing the foundations of optimal health, and why I say I work in the foundations of health, which is nutrition, fitness, and stress management. And we'll talk about how important that piece of the pie is, and that it really stems to you being your number one healthcare professional in this arena. So we're going to talk about that today and help you to understand, this very vital principle of natural medicine and naturopathic medicine. And we'll also share some of their key principles, as well as the therapeutic order, which you'll find here in the upper left-hand corner of this graphic. So naturopathic medicine is very near and dear to me. I have 2.5 years of naturopathic medical school training, but I switched gears to go to Chinese medicine because I fell in love with acupuncture, and so I kind of shift gears, and I still love naturopathic medicine. I'll probably go back and finish that degree sometime down the road. I'm currently working in natural medicine, which is through Quantum University, which takes kind of a different avenue. So there's so many modalities of health and wellness through natural medicine and traditional medicines, and we'll talk a little bit about some of those here today in the therapeutic order. But naturopathic medicine has some great principles that can really help us to be able to integrate all the different modalities and put them where their strengths are, and how we can utilize them for best health and care with the lowest impact on side effects and invasiveness to the body, which goes to the first key principle in natural medicine, and really is part of the Hippocratic Oath, which is first do no harm, right? So as a doctor, they take an oath that says we're first going to do no harm. That means we're going to treat you without causing additional stress and discomfort. We want to make sure that we are taking your best interest at heart, giving you the best care with the least invasive procedures to allow you to heal and to restore. Now, from that, in natural and most of your traditional medicines, the healing power of nature, that means your body has innately the ability to heal itself if given the right environment and helping to get rid of those obstacles to cure, things that are causing the issues in the body. So we, as practitioners, health and holistic healthcare practitioners, are looking for ways to stimulate the body's natural healing and getting rid of the things that are causing the problem, which means number 3, identify and treat the cause, right? That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're recognizing what is causing the issues. And a lot of times we say we're going to the root. Well, the root is actually the start of the disease, but is not the cause of the disease. The cause is the environment, right? When you go plant a seed, the environment is made sure that it's going to be conducive for that seed to germinate and to bring forth whatever it is meant to be. Well, so if your environment is optimal for a certain disease to flourish, that's the root. It's going to start. You're going to start seeing some of those manifestations, whether it be blood sugar dropping after you eat, which can be a start of insulin resistance. That's called hypoglycemia reactive, where your body is producing the insulin, but it's a little late to the show, so to speak. And it can cause later low blood sugar because it's kind of late to the party, so to speak. So we want to treat and identify the cause. So we're helping you to figure out, okay, what's causing this disease to begin, these symptoms to start showing forth. And that's what we want to do so that we can get those things out of the way so the body can heal and restore itself. And that leads to the next one, right? Doctor is teacher, docere, which is, again, I'm going to teach you what is creating the environments for allowing disease to flourish as opposed to health to flourish. We want both. We want to know what is an environment for health and versus what it looks like to create disease in the body. And then we want to treat the whole person, right? We're not isolated. We're not, we have specialists for systems. So you have cardiologists, pulmonologists, neurologists, nephrologists, and the list goes on. And they're kind of hyper-focused on a system of the body. And that's well and good when things are in an acute state, but we still have to treat the whole person to be able to mitigate and to help those areas to heal. And so that's treating the whole person is what we do in natural and traditional medicines is we look at the whole what's going on with you. We don't just hyper focus. We're looking at everything. And then there's prevention. And that's the key, right? We just spoke about that just a moment ago with Ben Franklin saying an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that's what is most important, is making sure that we are treating and focusing on bringing about health, not avoiding disease per se. Because if we are hyper-focusing on avoidance, we're not really preventing per se. Prevention means let's make an environment for health. And that is going to prevent the likelihood of disease. Now, it's good to know what are my susceptibilities, because then you can say, okay, I need to do X, Y, and Z for my health and giving me the best of care. So then you see this pyramid, right? This is the therapeutic order, and there's 7 steps in the therapeutic order going from least invasive to the most high force intervention that's going to be the most invasive, going to have the most side effects or most issue with the body, where we're doing a little bit more aggressive treatments to sustain basically your life. So that's going to be kind of really some pretty rough looking things going on. So that means that we've gone way far into disease or something catastrophic has happened. And so we're going to need those high force interventions. But prevention starts in that bottom tier. That's establishing the foundations of optimal health. So I'm going to quickly go through each step as far as what they're called, and then we're going to go in depth to each of these. So the bottom is establishing the foundations of optimal health. Then we're going to look at supporting natural self-healing mechanisms. Then we're going to look at restoring weakened or damaged organ systems, correcting structural alignment, using natural substances for palliation, pharmaceutical palliation, and then our high force interventions such as antibiotics and surgery. So the goal of the therapeutic order is that you can take care of you, right? And in the therapeutic order, it's guiding you on how you can utilize all these modalities and bringing them to integrating into your health and wellness and looking for the most optimal therapy with the least invasive procedures. And again, it's hyper-focused on prevention and treating the whole as opposed to, kind of compartmentalizing you. And it's really about individualized care, and you're at the center of your care. So you're the one that really needs to be at the helm of your health and wellness and of your health care. And that's working with all your practitioners and bringing them together to make sure that you're getting the care you need. So speaking with your PCP, your primary care physician, your MD, and working with him and saying, hey, I'm also utilizing X, Y, and Z, and here are the names of these practitioners and their suggestion, and getting their intake and listening to, what I call informed consent, getting informed consent from all to know what is going to be the best option for you. So you're the center and the facilitator to this approach, and seeing that you're getting the best care for you and the benefits that it's going to give you for your health and wellness. So starting in the first, or the bottom tier, the number one tier, which is establishing the foundations for optimum health. This is where prevention begins. This is where we're starting in the foundations, which is where health coaches, myself, lies, but there's other practitioners that can help you at this level. You, though, are your number one healthcare professional at this level because you choose the food you eat, you choose the exercise you do, and you choose the stress that you tend to take on. So how are you going to respond to your environment? What things are you using in your environment, etc. So everything is about lifestyle. It's lifestyle. It's how you're interacting with your environment, what you're choosing to put in your body, and what you're choosing to do for movement. Now, the thing is you've got to know how to use your food, how to use your fitness, how to address stress. Right? And that's where it's all about education. Really, this here is about education and being able to put that education into practice. And that's why the practitioners at this level are going to be people that are going to educate you. They're going to be guiding you. They're going to helping you make goals for your health and wellness. That's why health coaches are at this level. You have personal fitness trainers at this level. You have nutritionists at this level, functional and natural and integrative practitioners who tend to incorporate this level with their programs so that they're educating you. Again, doctor is docere. And so they're going to be the ones to educate you in this level so that you know how to make your diet that fits you, your fitness plan that fits you, and how to address stressors that tend to be your stressors. Because everybody's stressors are different. Everybody's nutrition needs are different. Their fitness needs are different. It's very individualized at this level. And you need to know how to support your health. And so you're the one that's going to make the choices of what you eat, etc. So this area is the prevention level, and it's always going to be what you're going to have to go back to, even if you're further along into, illnesses. Maybe you have some diagnoses already that's going to put you higher up the tiers on some of the interventions that you're going to be utilizing and the practitioners you're going to be working with. This level has to be put into place to help bring you back into that homeostasis, back into healing, because this is where you're going to be creating the foundations. A house without a foundation is going to fall. So we have to, if we've got a messed up foundation that needs to be fixed, this is what we're going to need to be working on so that you have the best nutrition, the best fitness plan, and the best stress management plan to kind of reduce inflammation in the body caused by these things, right? And then we can, by doing that, we give the body more ability to go after the things that are broken, so to speak, and help to restore the body and give it, as it says, that's natural ability to heal, removing obstacles to cure. So when we move up the tier, so we've, we're going to be coming in at different levels in our health journeys. Everybody's at different places. And, if you've been in a high stress environment for a continued amount of time, we can kind of get worn out, run down, so to speak. I'm just don't have my mojo. I lost my mojo. You've heard these types of sayings, and that's where you're going to get into this level. This is supporting the natural self-healing mechanisms. That means, the body's just worn out. It needs some energy. It needs some TLC. That's what I call this level, is the TLC level. We just need a little boost to our energy. And so a lot of our energy and body work that is done here at this level, supporting the natural health healing mechanisms. So a lot of your energy work and types of medicines are going to be at this level. And so we're going to be looking at therapies such as acupuncture, hydrotherapy, meditation, homeopathy, movement practices such as Qigong and Tai Chi and yoga, Reiki, craniosacral, and the like. And so your practitioners that you'll be working with at this level are going to be naturopathic doctors, energy and body workers, acupuncturists and Chinese medicine doctors, And other individuals that have been trained in these types of modalities will be those that you're going to work with. And so again, this is your TLC level. Getting a massage, is another thing that you'll find at this level. Things that help to boost your energy. And when I talk about boosting energy, it's really kind of giving your body a switch away from the fight or flight into the rest and digest. That's your healing mechanisms, comes under the rest and digest. So we have what's known as the vagal nerve. You've heard of that. You want to get into vagal tone. So the vagal nerve is kind of the main nerve in what's known as the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system has two branches, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And the sympathetic, that's your fight or flight. So you're always, anxious, trying to run. And in that avenue, that sympathetic tone, the body doesn't heal well. It actually depresses the immune system, reduces, in a sense, inflammation, because inflammation is a part of healing. Or it causes chronic inflammation because it's not able to fully finish its job. So inflammation is where we're tearing things down and we're trying to get away from the damage. So it's trying to clear it up, but it never makes it to the resolution, which is the healing phase. So we cleaned it up, and now we got to put in, new stuff. Like we tear down the sheetrock that's been molded or got damaged in the flood. Well, we got to put up new sheetrock, right? So what's happened is we tear down, and we never get to put anything back up. And that's what happens a lot of times when we're in the sympathetic tone and not in the parasympathetic tone. So when we do these types of modalities, it helps to get the body back into that parasympathetic side, that rest and digest, where the body can heal. So doing this when we're starting to feel run down, that's when we know that things are not quite getting restored back to what it should be. So doing these types of TLC therapies can really help to restore the parasympathetic tone, allowing your body to heal. Now we've gone a little bit longer in the stress or causing, maybe we've been eating wrong for a little bit too long. We've been, stressed out at work and we haven't been able to take a break. We've had to work overtime. Maybe we're burning the candle at both ends, trying to go to school and work and, try to get ahead. And our body is just, it's like, I'm about to just go, but you're not quite at a diagnosis yet. So things are starting to get a little uncomfortable. Maybe you're getting a cold too often. Maybe you've got acid reflux going on. Maybe you've got a chronic cough, or maybe you've got some muscle weakness or soreness, maybe some, stiff joints. Now we've got some tearing down. Again, like I said, when you're in the sympathetic too long, we can't put the sheetrock back up. We're tearing down. So things are starting to get even worse off, and now we don't even have the resources. We burnt. Again, you burn the candle at both ends, you ain't got nothing left in the middle. And that's the resources. And so now, not only do we need to boost the energy and get shifted into parasympathetic, well, now we got to give the body some sheetrock. We're out of sheetrock. So now we got to give it some resources. And so that's restoring weak or damaged organ systems. We're going to have to give it some resources along with some TLC. And so at this level, we're going to use things like nutritional supplementation, maybe a specific diet, making sure that we're getting the right foods in and the right amounts, and making it more focused rather than, maybe just how many carbs, fats, and proteins. Well, now we're going to be more specific in the types of foods we're going to use and when, so that we're giving the body the nutrients it needs. And then there's herbal supplements we may use, teas and things like that, that's going to help to give the body the substances to repair. So it's going to give it the energy and the substances so that we can repair those areas that are damaged, that are kind of giving us the not feeling so good kind of weight. And yet it's not yet into a diagnosis. And so at this level, you're going to have practitioners such as naturopathic doctors, herbalists, functional practitioners, dietitians, and Chinese medicine doctors. These are going to be people that's going to help you to know what resources do you need to supply the body to be able to restore those areas that have been worn down. We've worn them down, wore them out. So that's at this level here, number 3 of restoring weak and damaged organ systems. Now, I kind of think 3 and 4 kind of work in tandem. They're kind of, to me, on equal levels. So when we are in stress and when we're doing things where we're not really happy. Our body tends to get tense during stress, and our body is like a cable bridge. A cable bridge is not so much the structure, but how the structure is held in place with the cables. So yes, we have bones, and we think the bones is really where we have our stability's at, but it's really not. It's really in those tendons and muscles and how they connect to the bones and hold the bones in place. Well, if you have one side of your bridge is really, really tight and one's loose, well, the bridge is going to kind of sag. And that's kind of how our body gets. And what can end up happening if we have too much tension on some bones can just kind of get stuck together like this and they can't move freely. And so we end up with subluxations, and we need to get those out. And then we also have all this tension that needs to be worked out of the muscles and the tendons so that they can, freely move and not get stuck. And when we do a lot of repetitive or sedentary jobs, those things can cause us to have issues if we're doing high impact jobs, things that require a lot of physical labor. Those can cause issues with our body. So repetitive motion damage, maybe just being stationary, causing our body to get real tight when we're sitting all the time. A lot of times when we're sitting all the time, we have really tight hip flexors and really weak hip extenders, such as our glutes tend to be, and they easily can get weak and cause issues with our knees and our hips. And so in this instance, we need help getting those things back into balance and opening up the joints so we don't have this chronic pain. We don't have immobility, lack of range of motion. And also because, when things are really tight and when things are sublux, they can actually put pressure on our circulatory systems, our lymphatic system, and our nervous system so that we're not getting the nutrients to areas of the body because the blood flow is cut off. It's not moving through very easily. Our lymph doesn't get to clear off, which means we're going to end up with toxins building up in the system. And then we have nerves that are getting pinched that's causing pain or not getting the signal to the muscles, making the muscles weak. And if they don't fire appropriately, that can lead us to getting injuries very easily. And so we need to make sure that all of our structures are properly balanced so that we have free flow of our nerve signals. We have free flow of blood. We have free flow of lymph so that our body can properly move things through. And so the individuals that we're going to look for at this level to help the body have that free flow is going to be osteopathic doctors, acupuncturists and Chinese medical doctors, and chiropractors and massage therapists. And in some states, even naturopathic doctors have the ability to do physical medicine. And so and of course, we have also physical therapists can also be at this level as well. That's going to help you to be able to get the body more free flowing, getting the muscles back in balance so that body can move freely without pain and keep things moving fluidly through the body to keep it clear from toxins building up and making sure everything's being nourished as well. So if things continue or we end up getting sick with a cold or a flu, we are going to get into some illnesses that's going to have symptoms that are not going to be very comfortable. And at this level, it's not that we're treating the root or the cause. We're treating symptoms, which we call branches in Chinese medicine. So it's what it's producing in the body that's not very fun to deal with. So you could have migraines, you can have acute pain, things that are very uncomfortable, maybe diarrhea, vomiting, constipation, high fevers, coughs, and the list can go on, high blood pressure, high blood sugar. All of these things are symptoms that can be very unpleasant or can be wreaking more havoc in the system. And so we want to get them under control so that we can have some ability to actually live the day out without feeling like I'm stuck in the bed all the time. And so this is called palliation. This is when we're dealing with the symptoms directly. And at this level, we're using natural substances. So it's going to be tinctures, teas, and ointments, usually with herbs. So we're utilizing herbal tinctures, herbal teas, and different types of herbal formulas. And usually at this level of palliation with herbal medicine, you're going to be working with naturopathic doctors, functional practitioners, and Chinese medicine doctors. That's going to help you to get the right herb and formulas to help you to deal with those symptoms that are not very nice and help to keep them under control while you work in those lower tiers as well. Because again, full healing and restoration of health, you got to work in those other areas as well, because so you can work in the root and the cause. So working in those tiers. So in this level, we're dealing with the symptoms. So some of these things can have, you're going to have to, again, these are herbal medicines, and herbal medicines are no different. Well, they're not quite as invasive as pharmaceuticals, but they can still have side effects, and they still need to be monitored because some can be toxic at high levels. And so making sure you're working with a practitioner to utilize herbs appropriately and in the right dosing for you for this level of care. Went a little too far there. All right, so after, if you know, we're really in a spate, so usually when we're in a very distressed illness and things are getting really uncomfortable, we want something a little bit bigger kick, right? And that's for pharmaceuticals. They're going to have a bigger kick, but that means they're going to have a bigger side effect as well if we're not careful. And so we want to make sure that we're using these appropriately under the care of a physician and other practitioner that has the scope of practice for utilizing pharmaceuticals. So you're going to be using these with chronic or acute illnesses where the symptoms are really are a problem. They can be life-threatening or very much going to cause some morbidity, meaning you're going to be so, it's just not fun. You know, you want some relief and you want it quick. And so this is where this level comes into play, using pharmaceuticals. And so we want to make sure that we're keeping things under wraps. So at this level, we're going to be looking at like things for hypertension, hyperglycemia. You're going to have a diagnosis if you're using a pharmaceutical at this level. So you're going to be working with a medical doctor, an osteopathic doctor, a nurse practitioner, a physician's assistant, and in some states you'll be working with a naturopathic doctor who would also prescribe at this level. So this is where we're going to be, you know, dealing with things that we need to keep that blood pressure under control. We need to keep that blood sugar under control, because if we don't, it's going to cause further damage or can lead to more acute things that's going to cause us to go up to that top tier, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. So we want to make sure we're keeping things in the proper place and getting those symptoms under control. Hypothyroidism would fall under this tier when we're trying to make sure that we're keeping our thyroid hormone where it needs to be. So, you know, these are things that's going to have to happen at this level. Now, again, we're dealing with branch symptoms. We're dealing with, you know, the cause, the symptoms that come with the disease. And so what we want to do, again, we're going to work with our physicians, and then we're going to still be working in those lower tiers to bring about environment for health and healing. And, you know, when you're working with your practitioner, if things are getting regulated, they will work with you on how to moderate or modify your drugs in accordance to those things that you're doing. But you have to be working with them, talking about them, and getting them working in collaboration with your other practitioners so that your health is being maintained the way you would like it to be maintained. So always being in contact with your physician, talking with them, helping them to know what you're doing, and making sure it's in accordance to, you know, where they see your care going. So this is very important. So pharmaceuticals are a part of your health care when you need it. So you need to make sure that it's always being monitored appropriately. Now, high force interventions. This is going to be surgery and high-powered antibiotics, chemotherapy, and you know, autoimmune or suppressants. So these are things that's really going to it's about keeping you alive and keeping you with life and limb. So if you're in a car accident, if you broke a bone, you know, got a bad cut, you're going to be having to have some high force intervention to save that limb, to, you know, if you've had a heart attack, a stroke, sepsis, cancer, this is high force intervention stuff that comes at this level. So you want to make sure that you realize this is, you know, this is going to be high intense stuff here. And so your practitioners at this level are going to be your medical doctors, especially specialists, and osteopathic doctors. They're going to have a specialist, you know, criteria. They've been in school quite a bit to help you out here. Your surgeons are at this level. So, you know, when life gets out of hand, you don't ever want to get here. So prevention will be key, but life happens sometimes. So, where do you start? right? What is going on? Where are you at in your health journey? And so I'm giving you a couple questions to think about. Where did you start on your health journey? Where are you in your health journey? And how does this approach help you moving forward to support your health? Has it given you a new, outlook? Where am I supposed to be kind of taking out? What, maybe I should look into some of these other types of practitioners. Maybe I should talk to my primary care physician about doing a more integrative approach to my health. All these things are things to think about. And maybe you want to add in a health coach. And if you're interested in health coaching and working with a health coach, I encourage you to, I have a free 15-minute consultation. You can reach out to me at my email at coach@healthempowermentcenter.com. Check out my website. You can see some information about my services there. There's also some vlogs that you can check out, some more information that can help you on your health journey. And join my Facebook page. I give some health tidbits there. If you'd like to learn more, I'd look to hear from you, and we'll see you at the next information session.